Good evening, everybody. On behalf of the Indian section, I welcome you all to our Friday evening study class. Let us all join together in the universal invocation. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he's therefore one with every other. Thank you. So today we continue our study of the KH letters to CWL with commentaries from Jina Rajadasa. Our speaker is our well-known VIBHA Saksena ji, who altered her career from computers to esoteric studies. And we are all beneficiaries of this change in her life. She's a national speaker and has given numerous studies in various groups and sections. So most welcome, Vibhaji, for today evening's program.
Thank you so much, Vimalji, and namaste and good evening, everybody. Today, we will continue with the commentaries on the KH letters to CW LEADBEATER. Now, just to recap and put it into context, in the previous sessions, some of them were taken by Brother Pradeep Mahapatraji. And in the previous session, he has completed the letter number 1. And part of its commentary was also covered. So today we will be continuing with the remaining commentary on letter number 1 by C. Jinraj Das. And now a quick recap on what was being discussed. So C.W. Leadbeater, he wanted to become a chela of the master. And for that, he thought that it is necessary to travel to India. But he had some ties of gratitude he owed to his uncle. And he felt that he would not be able to leave for India without creating difficulties for his uncle. So he thought that his wish would have to wait. He would not be able to become a chela because he would immediately, right? Because he would not be able to travel to India for some time. So in his letter, the master, he assured C.W. Leadbeater that it is not necessary one should be in India during the 7 years of probation. A chela, he can pass them anywhere. So naturally the question is, how is this possible? Because one would think that the master has to monitor the progress of the student. And if there is so much geographical gap between the master and the student, so much distance between them, then how can the master monitor the progress of the student? And to answer this, C. Jinraj Das, he explained in the commentary. He mentioned that you will learn it is not necessary to leave your place of residence in order to become close to a master after you realize the true nature of adept. So, the nature of adept is such. If you realize what is his true nature, he can monitor his chela anywhere in the world. Then you will not have such a question. Okay. And then you come to know that his consciousness, the consciousness of the master, it can function in an instant in any part of the world. His mind can respond instantaneously wherever there is the sincere thought of an aspirant in the invisible world. So master's consciousness knows immediately, instantaneously, and he can respond to this. Now, to illustrate this point, C. Jinraj Das, he gave 2 examples. He showed that how the adept knows, though he may be thousands of miles away. So the first example, which has already been discussed in the previous session, that was about Miss Francesca Arundel, who resided in London at that time. And the masters, obviously, they were in the Himalayan regions. So master had followed her thoughts. They had watched the silent evolution of her thought and the yearnings of her inner soul. And then they wrote to her directly some of the things which concerned about her and her loved ones. Okay, so they knew what was going on in her mind. And so the adept who know and they have mastered the workings of the cosmic element Akash. Okay, that is the nature of the adept, that they have controlled, they have mastered the workings of the cosmic elements. And in this case, Akash, it is the matrix of evolution. It is the source from which all the other elements have come about. So they have this ability to read the thoughts at a distance. Now, but this does not mean that the master goes about reading everyone's thought. Okay, a candidate who has pledged himself to the master, his pledge permits the master to read his thoughts because he has pledged himself. Okay, he will align and harmonize himself to the master. So, master has that uh, permission in this case to read his thoughts. And this is also frequently the method master employed to communicate with HPP. Okay, so this is the nature of adept, how he can read the thought. Now, that was one example, which was Francesca Arundel. And then there is the second example, which C. Jinraj Das had given. So we will start today's session from this one. I'll share the slides with you. These are the slides which had been created by Pradeep ji. Okay, so this was actually the previous slides which completed the letter number 1. Now, here is the second instance of the adept. So now this is the commentary which C. Jinraj Das continues. He says the second instance of the adept, knowing at once what is happening thousands of miles away, relates to Colonel H.S. Olcott. In 1888, when he was proceeding to London to meet HPB, he was on board a steamer which was approaching Brindisi. This place, Brindisi, it is a port city in southern Italy. And Colonel Olcott, he was traveling to London to meet HPB to resolve certain administrative matters. Now, around that time, for one thing, he did not agree with her decision to establish an independent esoteric section of the Theosophical Society. Colonel Olcott believed that it would make the working of the organization not democratic. It would be undemocratic because there would be too much centralization of the power to have a esoteric section. That is what Colonel Olcott thought. But in spite of that, HPB, she created this separate private division to provide the more dedicated students with a deeper teachings on this occult philosophy and moral discipline. So that was one reason. And also prior to this, already the Theosophical Society had faced a massive crisis. HPB's reputation had been severely damaged because of that Coulomb conspiracy and then subsequently the unfavorable investigation by the SPR, Society for Psychical Research. So due to that event also and the intense public outlash that followed and her declining health, HPB had moved from India to Europe and then she relocated to London. So she was presently stationed in London. And in London, already there was this London Lodge of Theosophy. So the members who were loyal to HPB, they broke away from that London Lodge and this Blavatsky Lodge had been formed. So there was also some administrative turmoil in London. And to resolve all such matters, Colonel Olcott, he was traveling to London to meet HPB. And his steamer was now nearing Italy, this port of Brindisi. So on the early morning of the day before the arrival of the steamer at Brindisi, when he was on deck, he felt irritated against HPB. So you see, these were the thoughts of Colonel Olcott. All these matters were in his mind, and he was irritated against HPB, thinking that her then policy in Europe would make a division in the society. People would break away. So, because she had already established that Blavatsky Lodge and the independent esoteric section. So, when Colonel Olcott returned to his cabin, there dropped from the air a long letter from the Master KH, full of advice and instruction. And this advice and instruction, it was regarding the situation which he would find in London. Now, this letter which the master sent to Colonel Olcott, it appears in the Letters from the Masters of the Wisdom first series. It is the letter number 19. And in that letter appear these sentences. One of the most valuable effects of Upasika's mission is that it drives men to self-study and destroys in them blind servility for persons. So this is the statement in that letter which Master wrote to Colonel Olcott, and that letter materialized on that steamer in his cabin. So what does blind servility here refer to? Actually, blind servility means it is like blindly believing a person and trying to please him by serving him. So those were the times when people, especially in the Western countries, they were increasingly drawn to spiritism. They wanted to contact the subtle world through mediumship. And they actually did not know what are the underlying realities. And so a tremendous harm was being caused to them. Yeah, sorry for that. I have a very sore throat. So, that was the situation in the Western countries, including Europe. And at that time, when HPB was giving out these teachings of the masters, it was extremely helpful and extremely important because it forced the people to think for themselves. It forced them to do self-study and to give up their mindless faith on the mediums and the spirit guides. So that is what Master is saying, that her work was very valuable. Upasika's mission, that was very valuable in destroying the blind servility for persons. And further, Master says that observe your own case, for example. Why does he say that? Because in a way, the same thing applied to Olcott also, with respect to HPB, not with respect to Spiritism. See, Olcott had first met HPB in New York in 1874. And that was in connection with that occult phenomena which they were investigating at Vermont. And then soon afterwards, the next year in 1875, the Theosophical Society was founded. So Colonel Olcott, he recognized HPB's unparalleled occult knowledge. He was in awe of her. And that initial awe, it expressed itself as blind devotion. So Olcott had this blind devotion to her. And Master says, but your revolt, good friend, against her infallibility, as you once thought it, has gone too far, and you have been unjust to her, for which I am sorry to say you will have to suffer hereafter along with others. Now, see, Colonel Olcott's spiritual loyalty and partnership with HPB, it remained till the end. till HPB's death in 1891. But as he realized that even HPB was not infallible, even she displayed her human shortcomings or human mistakes. So his devotion to her, it changed to a more practical assessment, a more critical assessment of her human flaws. And Master could easily read Colonel Olcott's thoughts while he was aboard the steamer. And he immediately knew that Colonel Olcott was being unjust to HPB. And for this, Colonel Olcott would have to suffer later. So Master cautioned him. He cautioned him, stating that just now on deck, your thoughts about her were dark and sinful. And so I find the moment a fitting one to put you on your guard. So this is the second example that C. Jinrajdas has given to show that distance makes no difference to an adept, and that though he may be thousands of miles away, his attention is immediately drawn to anyone who sincerely and profoundly aspires, or to any one of his pupils as he does his master's work. So Colonel Olcott, he was a pupil who worked under the tutelage and under the direction of the Mahatmas. So the master rightfully read his thoughts to correct him. It has been said by one of the masters that in the world today, where there are so few who unselfishly desire to serve mankind or yearn for true spirituality. So in today's world, materialism is very much prevalent. Then two things happen in such cases. First of all, most people, they act only in self-interest. There's a very interesting thing I read about J. Krishnamurti. He mentioned that where there is self-interest, that is the beginning of corruption. See, a very deep thought to ponder. Where there is self-interest, that is the beginning of corruption. And this world where materialism is so rampant, self-interest is the first thing which people practice. So there is no inclination to unselfishly serve mankind. Anything a person has to do, he will first want to assess what is in it for me. That will be the question uppermost in his mind. So that is one thing, self-interest. And secondly, there are very few people who yearn for true spirituality. What is true spirituality? You should ask that question to your own self. What do you think is spirituality? What is it to you? Why are you following it? Now, to see, actually, this true spirituality, if we look at it in the context of Vedanta, sorry, or even the four qualifications which masters have given in At the Feet of the Master, this true spirituality is basically mumukshatva. It is the yearning for that spirituality. That is mumukshutva. Okay? A strong yearning, strong desire, strong aspiration for spirituality. That is mumukshutva. It is one of the four qualifications on the path of knowledge. But most people, they hanker after material things. And by those material things, they measure their comfort, their success, and their status in society. So that is why it is being said here that there are very few people who unselfishly want to serve mankind. They are all self-interested. And secondly, very few who yearn for true spirituality. So, wherever an earnest soul seeks the light, it is as if in an utterly dark valley, a man were to light a candle. Given the current status situation in the world, materialism and self-interest and materialism. So in such a situation, this whole place is like a dark valley, and wherever an earnest soul seeks the light, it is as if in an utterly dark valley, a man were to light a candle. Now, the light which the soul seeks, that light is the divine light of the Atma. It is the radiant divine consciousness, which is the source of all existence. It is the light of wisdom. That is the light the soul is seeking. Okay. In fact, in The Secret Doctrine, H.P. Blavatsky has written that the root of life was in every drop of the ocean of immortality, and the ocean was radiant light. So that is the first mention of light in HPB's Cosmogenesis. Okay, I'll read again. The root of life was in every drop of the ocean of immortality, and the ocean was radiant light. So this is the light, the divine light that the soul is seeking. The spark of that divine light, it is in the heart of every man. Okay, it is our essence. It is in the center, in the heart of every man. But it is covered with this septenary differentiation of matter. It is covered by its bodies, the subtle and the gross bodies. Okay, so that this spark which is there in the heart of every man, it is metaphorically said that that spark is plunged into an utterly dark valley, in the valley of matter. But when a determined soul, he aspires for the divine light, it is as if a candle is lit in that dark valley. That candle is the divine spark. Okay, and it is the brightness of the spark which is visible to the master. The candle may be small, but so great is the surrounding darkness that its light is seen far away. In a similar manner, the man who seeks purely, unselfishly, strenuously to come to the light is known at once by the masters in whatever part of the world that man may abide. So, given the general condition of the world where people are not working unselfishly for others, where people are interested for their own self benefit, and there is no true yearning for spirituality, in spite of all these conditions, when a man seeks purely, unselfishly, and to come to the light, then the master knows it at once in whatever part he resides. Okay. First of all, see the qualifications for the seeking. How should the soul seek? The seeking or aspiration for light has to be pure, unselfish, and strenuous. Each of these qualifications, they actually need to be pondered upon. What does purity mean to you? Seeking with purity. Purity means to accept no other influence but only the influence of the divine. Only that can be pure. Unselfishness means to seek not for self but for all. How is it possible? Because the oneness has to be realized. We are separate in bodies, but we are one in spirit. So that oneness has to be realized by the soul. By the eyes of flesh, you can see separate bodies. But by the spiritual eyes, you can see the oneness of spirit. So then the seeking of the soul, it will not be for own self, but it will be for all. So that is the unselfishness. Spiritual selfishness also has to be done away with. If the soul says that I want to progress, I want nirvana, so that is a kind of glorified selfishness. Okay? So unselfishness, seeking. And third qualification is strenuous. Strenuous is simple, meaning practice whatever discipline it takes to reach the goal without giving up. Okay. Now, when such type of seeking is there to come to the light, it is known at once by the masters in whatever part of the world that man may abide. Because such type of seeking, what it does, it intensifies the brightness of the divine spark within man, the candle in the dark valley. It brightens up, it intensifies the light. And to the measure of his aspiration and his capability for receiving the light of wisdom, the light is given to him. So how bright is that spark within you? Okay, that light of wisdom received by the aspirant, It does not depend on how far he is from the master, but it depends on the sincerity of his aspiration and his capability of receiving it. Hence, it is not necessary that one should be in India during the 7 years of probation. A chela can pass them anywhere. All that is needed is by the candidate is to have this pure aspiration and capability for receiving the wisdom. Okay. So that is all that is needed. And a chela can be anywhere in the world. His master can be anywhere. Now, the next phrase on which C. Jinraj Das has commented is, does not depend on my personal will. So where this statement was in the letter, C.W. Leadbeater, in his letter to the master, he had mentioned that his one great wish had been to place himself under the master as a chela, to which the master replies, to accept any man as a chela does not depend on my personal will. So C. Jinraj Das, he comments here that for the first time we find an idea which is quite the reverse of that has been the usual conception. The usual conception regarding the acceptance of a pupil by an occult teacher. So what is the usual conception? See, in India, the normal idea prevalent regarding this tradition, the Guru Shishya Parampara, it is time immemorial tradition. And the usual conception has been that the would-be disciple, he only had to go to the Guru and say, Sir, please accept me. And the Guru would reply, okay, so be it. And he would become a disciple. Now, although there were exceptions, sometimes, okay, and C. Jinraj Das had pointed it out also that it is true that in one of the Upanishads, a teacher replied to the candidate, return after 1 year, and that this reply was given a second time at the end of the first year. So it is not that always the student was accepted when he requested to become a disciple of a master. There are stories in the Upanishad where the master wanted to test him out for some time, and so he asked him to return after 1 year. And when the pupil came back after 1 year, the master still felt he's not ready. So again, he asks him to come after another year. Now, I'm not sure which specific story C. Jin Rajdas is referring to here. There are quite a few in the Upanishads. There is one story about, in the Chandogya Upanishad, about Satyakam Jabala, and he was seeking to become the disciple of Rishi Gautam. So he was also asked to come after some time. In fact, he was given a herd of cows. They were very sickly looking cows, and the Rishi said that you have to multiply these cows to 1,000 and then you come back to me. So, such kind of tests would be given to the aspirants before they would be accepted. Now, but here in this letter, coming back to it, CJ says that a revealing idea is presented by the master KH that in occultism, the relation between master and pupil is not a sentimental one. What does this mean, sentimental one? It means a teacher's emotions, a teacher's feelings towards a aspiring candidate, that cannot be the reason for his acceptance or rejection as a disciple. It has to be the result of the setting in motion of definite forces by the would-be disciple. Now, this is the most important thing. Setting in motion of definite forces by the disciple. Only that can determine whether he will be accepted as a disciple. So what is this meaning of setting in motion of the definite forces? How are these forces set in motion? These forces are created, they are generated whenever there is a thought, word, or speech. In short, by any action of the aspirant. That action can be by thought, word, or speech. So this is basically the law of karma. The effect must definitely come to pass based on the antecedent cause. And what is the antecedent cause? It is the force which has been set in motion by the would-be disciple. He has set that force in motion by his thoughts or his words or his speech or his actions. Okay, so his karma is setting up that force. And this idea, it is conveyed in the words that the relation can only be established as the result of one's personal merit and exertions in that direction. So when a candidate chooses the path he wants to tread, when he wants to become the chela of a particular guru, and he makes self-effort to progress in that direction. See what this is called in Indian tradition? Purushartha. You have to make that effort. So that is your Purushartha. Okay. So he makes self-effort to progress in that direction. Then he definitely brings about a change in his own self. There is a self-transformation within him to some extent, however little or however much it may be. So he becomes a deserving candidate. He becomes worthy of being accepted by the guru. For example, to be accepted by the master on the path of knowledge, one has to make the effort to cultivate, at least to some extent, the four qualities of Vivek, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti, and Mumukshutva. Okay, so Master says you may not be perfect in those four qualifications, but even if to some extent you are working to develop those, they are getting developed, then you become a deserving candidate. So it is only after much knowledge of what is the work of an adept that one realizes that a master is not just a mere teacher of spiritual truths, but is essentially a great executive agent who handles the forces of the logos and as such is responsible for even their slightest use. Okay, so person goes to the master to be accepted as his disciple. Before that, he has to be a deserving candidate. So that is through his own self-effort. And then he also has to realize that master, he is not just a teacher of spiritual truths, but what is the work of an adept? He is a great executive agent of the logos. He handles the force of the logos. And he is responsible for the usage of that force, the spiritual force, which is being showered by the solar logos in our world. So here there is something we should know about the masters. And I want to tell you this, which Annie Besant has explained in her pamphlet. I think it is in the Adyar pamphlets. In one of that, there is the masters. And Annie Besant has written on it. She says that adepts are perfected men, basically Siddha Purush. So adepts are perfected men who are embodying the highest possible intellectual, moral, and spiritual development of man. See, all of us, all the ordinary people, they are developing intellectually, morally, spiritually, and to different levels. Okay, it is a ladder of evolution. And these Siddha Purush or the adepts, they have reached to the highest possible level of that. So their evolution of man is over. They have nothing more to learn on this earth. Okay, but their evolution continues beyond this human level. It continues in superhuman level. Now, what exactly we mean by evolution? Evolution means a gradual expansion of consciousness. And consciousness is always embodied. But as it evolves, it gets embodied in ever improving, in ever refining material form. But presently, we are in the gross body, gross material. But as the consciousness expands, then the consciousness works in the subtle bodies and more higher bodies. So that is what is meant by evolution. So the evolution of adept continues even beyond the human kingdom. Now the consciousness of adept, it is able to function unbrokenly through the 5 great spheres in which evolution is proceeding. Now what are these 5 great spheres? We know solar system has septenary planes. So the lower 5 solar planes, that is Bhur, Bhuvar, Swar, Mahar and Janaha Lok. These lower 5 solar planes. On this, the consciousness of adept is able to function unbrokenly. This is an important word, unbrokenly. You see, for ordinary people, we can function only on the physical plane, lowest plane. Even if we go to the astral plane, we are in sleep mode. We are not in the waking mode. We cannot work in the waking mode in the astral plane for general people, ordinary people, right? But an adept can work consciously on all these 5 planes. So the master's consciousness, it includes all these 5 planes, and his refined and subtle bodies, he can function in them freely. Each body is made up of the matter of that plane. So first, second, third, fourth, fifth, up to the 5th plane. That is up to the Janahalok. Maharlok and Janahalok is where the masters are said to abide in their consciousness. Now, he can, because he is functioning at those subtle levels, he can at any time know and act at will in any part of those planes. Okay? By his will, wherever he chooses to be, he can be and he can act. And master can also choose to remain in his physical body, or he can choose to remain in the spiritual body and inhabit only those higher planes, or he may come in his physical body. So it is up to his will. And accordingly, these adepts have these different lines of service at which level they are abiding. So they aid the progress of humanity in countless ways, and they execute the plan of the logos. So from the highest level, from the highest sphere, they shed down the spiritual light, the light and life on the entire world. And this light, it is available to all. It is like sunlight. It is available to all. It may be taken up by all and assimilated by them, but it depends upon their receptivity. Okay. So master is essentially a great executive agent. This is the meaning. He's a great executive agent who handles the force of the logos. Because the masters, they are shedding that light of the logos on all these spheres. Now the relation between master and pupil implies, so a master who chooses to retain a physical body and remain on earth. So the relation between such a master and pupil implies that the master must utilize some of those forces which are in his charge to help the pupil. So again, to aid the progress of humanity, a master he may take pupils. Okay, he helps them to tread this path to the human summit. So this is a shorter and direct path. And we know that there is the more arduous path as compared to the short path. It is the long, winding uphill path, which is taken by the bulk of humanity. Okay, but when master takes a pupil, he helps the pupil to take the shorter path, direct path. So what happens? The pupil, he outpaces the natural evolution. He reaches perfection ahead of the rest of humanity. And this is accomplished by the grace of his guru. Pupil cannot do it by himself. Of course, his self-effort has to be there. That is his purushartha. But it is only by the grace of the guru, the spiritual force which the guru bestows on him for progress, that he is able to reach his goal. And this is the truth. This actually happens at the time of initiations. There are so many levels of initiations. Okay. So at the time of initiation, it is the force which the master bestows on the pupil, and he is able to rise higher, progress higher. And therefore, the master, he must have proof that it will be worth his while to divert these forces towards the pupil. Why should he expend the force of the logos on the pupil? The pupil has to be worthy. He has to be a deserving candidate, because the master is responsible for even the slightest use of the force of the logos. So master has to be extremely sure that the candidate is a deserving candidate. And if he is accepted as a pupil, then that pupil will return back to the master's reservoir of force more than he has received from it. Okay. So meaning that one day the pupil, he shall also reach adeptship. And he will become capable of wielding the force of the Logos, and in his turn, he will help in the work of spiritual upliftment of humanity. So that is the reason that probation period is there, and the masters, many candidates aspire, but very few are selected. Okay. So this was the very important phrase, which was regarding the master says that to accept any man as a chela does not depend on my personal will. So many factors are there. Now we move to the next phrase. C. Jin Rajdas has explained, force any one of the masters. So master wrote this to explain to C.W. Leadbeater that to accept him as a chela does not depend on his personal will. But C.W. Leadbeater, by his own actions performed in the right way, can force any one of the master to accept him as a chela. C. Jin Rajdas says, nothing could be more striking than the use of the word force and underlining it so as to draw special attention to the reality behind the thought. How can you force the master? Okay, here we want to understand the mystery behind how an aspirant is just like any other ordinary person. So how can he force or compel a master? Master is at the apex of human progress, right? And the chela is just like an ordinary person. How can he compel the master to do something? So citing an example, Sijin Rajdas ji, he says, there is the occult saying, knock and it shall be opened unto you. So here again the word knock, just like here the word is force. So this saying, knock and it shall be opened unto you, it is originally from the teachings of Jesus. Okay. Just as Master has used the word force, which has a mysterious reality behind its meaning, so also the word knock has an occult meaning. It does not follow, as has been explained in Light on the Path, that a mere desire on the part of an aspirant is a real knock. That is not the knock. You just desire that you want to learn and progress spiritually. So that is not the knock in the occult significance of the word. So what is really the knock? It is the spiritual law. It is the spiritual law that the divine wisdom is revealed only to those people who are actively, persistently, and sincerely applying themselves to this discipline, to this desire, working towards it. Actively, persistently, and sincerely. So that is the real meaning of knock. And then the door is opened. So this door is the threshold to higher consciousness. So when they do this, if you take up self-study, if you do good work in the name of the master, if you are charitable, do good actions, so then the threshold, you reach that threshold to higher consciousness. And that is the door which opens. It opens only to the awakened mind. So you have to put in that self-effort to study. Now, it's the similar thing it is stated on Light on the Path. And this is what C.G. Rajdas is saying, that those that ask shall have. But though the ordinary man asks perpetually, his voice is not heard, for he asks with his mind only. And the voice of the mind is only heard on that plane on which the mind acts. This is actually written in the book Light on the Path. Now, mind of the ordinary man, where does it act? On the physical plane. Meaning that applying his mind, man can control his physical actions. He can do good work, he can do right actions, he will not harm anybody by his actions. So he is applying his mind on the physical plane. But his mind is not in control on the emotional and mental plane. Meaning he is not able to control his thoughts and emotions. So though a candidate, he may request to be taken as a pupil, and his physical actions are also good. They are complying with his request. but his thoughts and feelings are not compatible with that request. Because mind is not able to control at the level of the emotional and mental levels. So the aspirant, what should he do? He should determine the direction of all his thoughts and feelings that they converge on the hope of being received as a pupil. So not only his physical actions, but even his thoughts and feelings have to be so pure, they have to be so selfless that he becomes worthy of being accepted as a disciple. In the book, Light on the Path, if you have studied that book, there are those first 21 rules, part 1 of the book. And Master has said that not until the first 21 rules are passed do I say that those that ask shall have. Meaning, if you're asking to be a chela, you will be accepted if you have at least been able to apply or conform to those first 21 rules that is mentioned in Light on the Path. You would remember it is about kill out ambition, kill out desire for life, kill out desire for comfort. So, killing out of desire. Many more things are there. Now, so what happens when a candidate applies those rules or masters those 21 rules? Then his personality becomes pure. So personality is purified. He's not killing his personality, but the personality has been purified and it becomes an efficient instrument in the hand of the individuality. Individuality is the Atma Buddhi Manas. So Atma Buddhi Manas is in control of his personality. His actions and emotions and thoughts can be controlled and directed. So aspirant has to determine the direction of his thoughts and feelings, focusing them on what he desires and act accordingly. You see, all these books, they are helping you to progress in the same direction. Whether it is Light on the Path, whether it is Voice of Silence, or whether it is the commentaries on the Mahatma letters, they are all pointing you and giving you the same teaching so that you may progress on the spiritual path. Now, this determination of the direction of thoughts and feelings, they all have to be focused on what goal you have set for yourself. So, if such a determination is carried out in action day after day, it may be for years sometimes. So, the determination has to persist. Okay? That persistence itself is a tapasya. It is a sadhana of the candidate for making himself fit for what he wants. Now, suppose take an example, a person who wants to compete in the Olympics, in the, let's say, 100-meter race. So, if he just goes there that please select me, please take me for that competition, he won't be selected. He has to practice first. He has to spend years in practice. Then he has to succeed in the qualifying rounds. And then he will be accepted to participate in the Olympics. Right? So, same thing. You have to make yourself fit first to be accepted as a pupil. Similarly, when that aspirant, he practices for years together, he carries out that determined action, then he forces a master's hand, not by demanding entry into that field of Olympics, but by doing inner work. He has worked all these years living purely, by serving humanity, and by cultivating absolute unselfishness. By practicing these things year after year, he has aligned himself with the spiritual laws of the universe. And then naturally, he generates a magnetic force within himself, the candidate. And that magnetic current, it cannot be ignored by the master. That is the real knock on the door of the master. He knocks at the door of the master, and the master, as an agent of the great law, must open the door for the aspirant will have forced that master. So, the great law, it is the universal law of karma and spiritual evolution. And these masters, they are the agent of the great law, meaning they are the perfected beings who abide by and work in harmony with the great law. That's why they are the agents of the great law. And therefore, a master is bound by his cosmic duty. Now, he is above the earth plane, so he is bound by cosmic duty to open the door and accept the aspirant as a chela. Once the required spiritual merit has been achieved by the aspirant. So that is the meaning of this phrase which we discussed. The phrase was force any one of the masters. So today we will end our session here and we'll now go in for the Hindi translation.
सबको नमस्ते और थैंक यू सिस्टर। आज हम महात्मा केएच द्वारा CW लेडबीटर को लिखित पहला पत्र, उसकी कमेंट्री देखेंगे जो सी जिनराज दास जी ने लिखी है। हम देखते हैं कि मास्टर अपने शिष्यों के हर एक विचार और भावनाओं से कैसे अवगत होते हैं, चाहे वे दुनिया के किसी भी कोने में, और शिष्यों द्वारा अपने सद्गुरु को समर्पित महत्वपूर्ण कार्य में किस तरह निर्देश देते हैं। इसके दो उदाहरण सी जिनराज दास जी ने दिए हैं, जिसका पहला उदाहरण हमने देखा था मिस फ्रांसिस्का अरुंडेल का, जो काफी समर्पित मेंबर थी। और हम दूसरा उदाहरण देखते हैं कर्नल एच.एस. ऑलपॉट से, जो संबंधित है कि कैसे एक महात्मा मीलों दूर क्या घटित हो रहा है यह तुरंत जान लेते हैं। 1888 में कर्नल ऑलकॉट एचपीबी से मिलने जहाज से लंदन जा रहे थे। जहाज ब्रिंडीसी की ओर बढ़ रहा था। वहां पहुंचने के पहले दिन प्रातः जब वे जहाज की डेक पर थे, तब उन्हें एचपीबी से चिढ़ हुई, यह सोचकर कि यूरोप में एचपीबी की नई योजना से, यानी इsoteric स्कूल की स्थापना से सोसाइटी विभाजित हो जाएगी। जब वे अपने केबिन में लौटे, तब हवा में से मास्टर के एच का लंबा सा पत्र आ गिरा, जिसमें लंदन जाने पर जो स्थिति वे देखेंगे उससे संबंधित सलाह और निर्देश दिए गए थे। मास्टर लिखते हैं कि उपासिका के मिशन से उत्पन्न हुए प्रभावों में से सबसे महत्वपूर्ण असर यह है कि यह लोगों को स्वाध्याय के लिए प्रेरित करता है और उनमें दूसरों के लिए अविचारता पूर्ण किसी के अधीन होने को खत्म करता है। उदाहरण के तौर पर आप स्वयं के मामले में देखें, ऐसा मास्टर कर्नल ऑलकॉट से कहते हैं। एचपीबी की गलतियां, विलक्षणता, जिसे आपने कभी सोचा था बहुत बढ़ गई है, उसके खिलाफ आपकी बगावत बहुत बढ़ गई है और आप उसके साथ नाइंसाफी कर रहे हैं। मुझे खेद के साथ यह कहना पड़ रहा है कि इस कारण आगे चलकर औरों के साथ आपको भुगतना होगा। अभी जहाज के डेक पर एचपीबी के बारे में आपके विचार निंदनीय थे और निरादरपूर्ण थे, और इसीलिए आपको सावधान करने के लिए यह उचित समय है, ऐसा मुझे लगा। श्री जिनराज दास कहते हैं कि इस तरह हम देखते हैं कि एक सिद्ध पुरुष को दूरी से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है। यदि कोई अपने सद्गुरु की सच्चाई से और गहराई से आकांक्षा करता है, या कोई भी शिष्य अपने सद्गुरु का कार्य कर रहा होता है, तब उनका ध्यान ऐसे व्यक्तियों की ओर तुरंत आकर्षित होता है, भले ही वे हजारों मील दूर पर हो। एक महात्मा ने कहा है कि आज की दुनिया में ऐसे बहुत ही थोड़े लोग हैं जो निस्वार्थ रूप से मानव जाति की सेवा करना चाहते हैं, या जो सच्ची आध्यात्मिकता की चाह रखते हैं। जब भी कोई सच्चा मनुष्य दिव्य प्रकाश की खोज में प्रयास कर रहा होता है, तब मानो गहन अंधेरी घाटी में किसी व्यक्ति ने दिया जलाया हो। वह दिया भले ही छोटा हो, लेकिन चारों ओर अंधेरा इतना घना होता है कि दिए की रोशनी दूर दूर तक नजर आती है। इसी तरह वह मनुष्य जो पूर्ण निर्मलता से, निस्वार्थता से और कड़ी मेहनत से ज्ञान प्रकाश की चाह रखता है, उसे मास्टर तत्क्षण पहचान लेते हैं, चाहे वह व्यक्ति दुनिया के किसी भी कोने में हो। और ज्ञान प्रकाश ग्रहण करने की उसकी क्षमता और आकांक्षा के अनुसार ही उसे वह प्रकाश प्रदान किया जाता है। मास्टर कहते कि इसीलिए यह जरूरी नहीं कि प्रोबेशन के 7 सालों के दौरान उसे भारत में रहना जरूरी हो। एक चेला यह प्रोबेशन का काल कहीं से भी पारित कर सकता है। हम लेटर में देखते हैं कि मास्टर कहते हैं कि यह मेरी स्वयं की इच्छा पर निर्भर नहीं करता। इसके बारे में से जिनराज दास लिखते हैं कि पहली बार हमें ऐसा विचार मिलता है जो उस आम धारणा से बिल्कुल उलट है, जहाँ किसी गुह्य विद्या के गुरु द्वारा शिष्य को स्वीकार करने के बारे में रही हो। भारत में सदियों से यह परंपरा चली आ रही है कि शिष्य बनने के इच्छुक व्यक्ति को गुरु के समक्ष जाकर उनसे यह प्रार्थना करनी होती है कि गुरुजी मेरा स्वीकार करें, और फिर गुरुजी कहते हैं ठीक है, ऐसा ही हो। एक उपनिषद में एक गुरु शिष्य बनने के अभिलाषी से कहते हैं कि 1 साल बाद आओ, और यही जवाब पहले साल के आखिर में दूसरी बार दिया जाता है। मास्टर केएच ने एक महत्वपूर्ण बात बताई है कि आत्मविद्या में एक मास्टर और उनके शिष्य के बीच नाता भावना प्रधान नहीं होता, भावनाओं पर आधारित नहीं होता। यह तो होने वाले शिष्य ने विशिष्ट शक्तियों को सक्रिय करने के परिणाम स्वरूप होता है। दूसरे शब्दों में, गुरु शिष्य का नाता किसी की अपनी योग्यता और उस दिशा में किए गए प्रयत्नों के फल स्वरूप होता है। एक सिद्ध पुरुष का क्या कार्य होता है, इस बात की कहीं अधिक जानकारी होने के उपरांत ही यह एहसास होता है कि मास्टर केवल आध्यात्मिक सत्य को सिखाने वाले गुरु नहीं होते हैं, बल्कि वे लोगोस की शक्तियों को संचालित करने वाले महान कार्यकारी एजेंट्स होते हैं, और इसीलिए वे उन शक्तियों के जरा भी इस्तेमाल करने के लिए जिम्मेदार होते हैं। एक मास्टर और शिष्य के नाते से मास्टर को अपने शिष्य की मदद करने हेतु कुछ शक्तियों को प्रयोग में लाना होगा जो उनके अधिकार में है। इसीलिए उनके पास यह सबूत होना चाहिए कि उन शक्तियों को शिष्य की ओर मोड़ना लाभकारी होगा या नहीं, और यह कि शिष्य मास्टर के शक्ति भांडार में से जो कुछ भी पाएगा उससे कहीं ज्यादा वह वापस लौटाएगा। लेटर में मास्टर एक वाक्य लिखते हैं, फोर्स एनी वन ऑफ द मास्टर्स, यानी महात्मा गणों में से किन्हीं एक महात्मा को उसे स्वीकार करने के लिए बाध्य करे। यहाँ फोर्स शब्द पर जोर दिया गया है जो काफी महत्वपूर्ण है, ताकि इस विचार के पीछे की सच्चाई पर विशेष रूप से ध्यान दिया जा सके। गुह्य विद्या में, आत्मविद्या में कहावत है, नॉक एंड इट शैल बी ओपन अनटू यू, दस्तक दीजिए और द्वार आपके लिए खोला जाएगा। लेकिन इसका यह मतलब नहीं है जो लाइट ऑन द पाथ में बताया गया है कि किसी साधक की साधना पथ पर मार्गक्रमण करने की मात्र इच्छा ही गुह्य अर्थ में वह खरी दस्तक है। जो साधक अनुरोध करता है वह पाता है, लेकिन साधारण मनुष्य जो सदा याचना करता है उसकी मांग नहीं सुनी जाती, क्योंकि वह केवल अपने मन से ही मांग करता है, और मन की आवाज उसी तल पर सुनी जा सकती है जहां पर वह क्रियाशील है। यह लाइट ऑन द पाथ में लिखा है। एक साधक ने अपने सभी विचार और भावनाओं की दिशा इस तरह से तय करनी चाहिए कि जिससे वे शिष्य के रूप में स्वीकार किए जाने की उम्मीद में सम्मिलित हो जाए। दिन प्रतिदिन या सालों तक यदि ऐसी दृढ़ता जारी रहे, तब वह मास्टर के द्वार पर दस्तक देता है, और मास्टर को ईश्वरीय नियम यानी के प्रतिनिधि के रूप में द्वार खोलना ही होगा, क्योंकि साधक ने उन मास्टर को ऐसा करने के लिए बाध्य किया होगा। थैंक यू। नमस्ते।
Thank you so much, Meenakshi ji, and beautiful presentations. My God, it was so wonderful. I'm so grateful for Vibhaji's study, and I can't imagine what a commentary she has given on this commentary. It is too good. So, firstly, I would request everybody to open up if they wish to comment anything. I see Shindeji is back from his break, and I request Shindeji to start uh, with his comments. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vimalji, and I must thank Vibhaji and even Meenakshi. All commentary and letter is only for those who are on the probationary path. It is very essential to study such kind of Mahatma letters. And C. Jindal Das has explained very well. Vibhaji has explained again commentary very nicely. All went very well. Actually, in Theosophy it is said, great renunciation of self, which means that refers to transcend the ego, shifting focus from personal to impersonal. Again and again it is said, unselfishness in this letter. So for that, we need to have devotion, faith, and trust. All these components are helpful for a faithful chela, because for joining other organization and changing the track, this is not a faithful chela. So you must have devotion to concepts of surrender, love, commitment. Such bhakti, when we say renunciation of self, one of the master, rather inner head, writes that I am the slave of my duty. A very important statement. Inner head says, I am a slave of my duty for upliftment of humanity. So this is becoming slave, is itself shifting focus from personal to impersonal. So it is not easy. It is a surrender. It is a love. It is a commitment. So that kind of devotion relates to concepts of surrender. Slave word came from the service. Actually, Latin word slave. It means service. In the service, there should not be any tinge of selfishness. Then comes the faith. That involves belief in something greater than oneself. Because only such faith, guiding purpose in the mid of the uncertainty. And the third one, trust, which is the foundation of relationships and decision making. When you are focusing your attention on one of the masters and wanted to become his pupil, then such trust will enable one towards one's own intuition. It is said about the Guru Parampara also. It is true. Within us, there is a Guru Tattva, and that is when there is complete surrender, when there is complete clarity of our own purpose of life, then you will definitely knock that door, and that door will be opened. That Guru Tattva will be opened, and you will lead yourself. It is not the outer guru, but the inner guru. If you knock, it is open. It is a law, occult law. So all these factors very well discussed in this, and I am very happy to listen such kind of serious thoughts on this. Thank you very much, Vimalji. I am back yesterday, and immediately I got very good talk to listen. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Dubalji, Sushmaji, anybody else would like to add or comment or any questions?
मैडम विभा जी नमस्कार, एक छोटा सा क्वेश्चन है. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
मैडम ये ईसोटेरिक विजडम और ये ऑलकॉट साहब के जो समाज का उत्थान गठन और ये दूसरे धर्मों का बढ़ावा देने में इसमें कॉन्फ्लिक्ट क्यों हुआ?
किस टाइप का कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, आप किस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बात कर रहे हैं?
एचपीवी चाहती थी ईसोटेरिक विजडम पे ज्यादा ध्यान देती थी और वो चाहते थे दूसरे धर्मों का भी उत्थान हो, ऑलकॉट साहब. तो ये अगर आप ईसोटेरिक विजडम में पारंगत हो गए तो दूसरे काम भी तो करेंगे साथ में, ये कॉन्फ्लिक्ट क्यों होगा?
No, that was regarding, it was mentioned that Colonel Olcott thought that the power will become centralized. Like, the esoteric section will become the center of power. So it won't be a democratic organization anymore. See, right now, how the structure is, the lodges are independent. Right? They can, federation sections, lodges can have their own charters or bylaws and they can function independently. So from administrative point of view, Colonel Olcott was not agreeing to what HPB was doing it. But HPB was doing it for the purpose of a much deeper and serious study by the students who were very sincere and wanted to really progress. So it was not about religion at all.
Vibhaji, is there any writing of HSO about this where maybe it can be read? What you're saying? Can we read it somewhere?
I don't know if it is given in his old diary leaves, but there is no particular there's no particular article about it. But like Olcott was generally concerned with the administrative part of the Theosophical Society, and HPP was more into the teachings of the masters. So she took this decision to have this esoteric school because after what all happened, she moved to Europe after the Coulomb debacle in India, right? And she saw the responses of even the Indian members, and she was very much put back due to this kind of response. So she wanted to continue with this movement in the West. And that is why she moved to London and then she started that section. And Colonel Olcott was looking at it from the more administrative point of view, that this should not divide the society. So a fracture in the society.
Okay, madam. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Vibhaji, I have one question. This in this what you read, it was said that the direction of the solar logos, the masters follow the directions of the solar logos. But I've never heard it or read anywhere else that the solar logos gives direction. Have you read this anywhere else?
No, it is not about the direction of the solar logos. The solar logos does not give any direction. If you read the cosmogenesis, if you study the cosmogenesis, it is always the plan of the logos which is implemented by the Dhyan Chauhans. So Dhyani means they are contemplating the plan of the logos. They know. And then there are the builders and then there are the architects and the builders. So they work accordingly, according to the plan. Right? The masters who have elevated their consciousness to that level, they also they touch the consciousness of the Dhyan Chauhans. See, the seven are there up to 3 elemental Mineral, plant, animal, human. Then above the human, there are three Dhyan Johanic kingdoms in the solar system itself. So the master's consciousness is those levels beyond the human level. And there, then they automatically they come to know that what is the plan of the logos for this particular system, and they work accordingly. Now, this becomes clear if you have studied the cosmogenesis in the secret doctrine. This is how it works for any system.
Okay. Okay. I think that word plan he has not used. He has used another word in this commentary. That's why it added little confusion. The plan of the solar logos makes sense. That I grasp.
Yeah, I guess
But he has
the term
he has
plan.
used-
CJ has used some other word, is it?
I thought I read that, but I have to confirm. You can see your slides and see.
Vanessa
Anyway,
Kavaiya.
There's
yes. Who is this?
is there a question from anyone?
I request Vibhaji to please continue this studies next week also, if you have the time. Are you free next week? So I think you have yet to complete in any case.
No, actually, Vimalji, I'll be traveling. I won't be available. So I had requested Pradeepji.
Okay. Okay. You all have to bear with me after this. So I don't know how I'm going to do this next
No,
week.
your study is very deep. So I'm sure that it'll be a pleasure to listen to you.
That's
मेरा एक
definitely.
क्वेश्चन
जी सर,
Yes, sir.
बताएं।
हाँ दीदी, मेरा एक क्वेश्चन विभा सिस्टर विभा जी से है।
हाँ, बताइए।
आपने इस पूरे इसमें मास्टर्स लेटर्स में एक जगह यूज किया कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट मींस द स्टार्ट ऑफ करप्शन। ये इस किस सेंस में आपने बात की?
कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट नहीं, ये मैंने जय कृष्णमूर्ति की एक सेइंग पढ़ी थी जिसमें वो कहते हैं कि जहां पे भी सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट का जन्म होता है वहीं से करप्शन का जन्म होता है। बिकॉज यू वॉन्ट एवरीथिंग फॉर योर सेल्फ, अपने सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट के लिए कि मेरा फायदा उसमें है कि नहीं। सो
अच्छा, यहाँ पर इस ये जो जयंत कृष्णमूर्ति जी का जो है किस संदर्भ में था, किस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में उन्होंने कहा?
I don't know. It was just a saying which was shared by somebody with me, and he makes this statement that self-interest is the beginning of corruption.
यस सिस्टर। और एक दूसरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि मास्टर्स लेटर में कई जगह यूज करते हैं, कभी कभी मुझे लगता है मुझे ऐड करना चाहिए या आपको बोलना चाहिए, या कुछ एक वर्ड है जिसको अमेंड करना चाहिए। व्हाई यूज चेला इंस्टीड ऑफ शिष्य? बहु अक्सर कई जगहों पर आपके स्क्रिप्ट में लिखा चेला, मास्टर एंड चेला। क्या चेला को हम शिष्य नहीं, हिंदी में शिष्य नहीं बदल सकते, शिष्य में वर्ड कन्वर्ट नहीं कर सकते? और व्हाट इज डिफरेंस बिटवीन चेला एंड शिष्य?
Yeah, so technically I do not know what is the difference between चेला and शिष्य। मेरे हिसाब से वो सेम है, लेकिन हो सकता है कि संस्कृत भाषा में कुछ
वो तो डिफरेंस तो है,
हाँ
डिफरेंस है। और अगर मैं इसमें ऐड करना चाहता हूँ, चूंकि बड़े बड़े लोग बैठे हैं
जी,
और अगर लगता है कि इस वर्ड को चेंज करा जा सकता है, क्योंकि ओरिजिनल स्क्रिप्ट तो बदला नहीं जा सकता है, लेकिन कुछ वर्ड एमेंड होते हैं, टाइम टू टाइम वर्ड एमेंड होते हैं, तो कुछ ऐसे वर्ड है जिसको बदलना चाहिए।
बिल्कुल।
I think Vibhaji, you can answer like this, because we know that the masters keep a form of their chela in their presence. So if there is changes in the astral and mental body of the chela, that will be reflected in the form that the master creates of the chela, which is what I think Shishya can be a normal student. We are all Shishyas, but we are not chelas. Chelas is very specific term.
नो,
आपने बात ही उलट दी, आपने दोनों को दो मिस लगा दिया, क्योंकि चेल जो सिद्ध होते हैं वो डीपर नॉलेज वाले होते हैं, और
नहीं
जो
सर,
चेला होते हैं वो लाइटर नॉलेज होते हैं।
नॉलेज से कनेक्टेड नहीं है सर, ये कनेक्टेड ऐसे है कि द द व्हाट द मास्टर डज इज, वो इतने डीपली वो चेला को ऑब्जर्व करते हैं कि वो एक फॉर्म बनाते हैं, बिल्कुल ऐसा एक फॉर्म एस्ट्रल मटेरियल से, किस मटेरियल से बनाते हैं वो, सटल मटेरियल से, जिससे चेला के अंदर जो कुछ भी चल रहा है उस फॉर्म में आता है। तो मास्टर को कंप्लीटली पता है कि चेला क्या कर रहा है, क्या सोच रहा है, क्या कर एवरी मिनट, क्योंकि लिटरली मास्टर रिस्पॉन्सिबल होते हैं चेला के कर्म के लिए, मतलब कर्म कनेक्टेड हो जाता है उन दोनों का, वो
सर,
टोटली
इसी को तो
डिफरेंट
मैं
है।
इसी के लिए बोल रहा हूँ, चेला से और डीपर नॉलेज गेन करने वाले शिष्य होते हैं। तो हम अगर चेला के बदला अगर हिंदी, मैंने अंग्रेजी टर्म में आपका जो लिखा हुआ है वो आप यूज करें, बट हिंदी हिंदी टर्म में अगर उसको यूज करते हैं, क्योंकि आपका डिबेट, आपका जब डिस्कशन होता है तो वो इंग्लिश उसके बाद हिंदी भी होता है, हिंदी में हम उसको शिष्य वर्ड यूज करें तो मेरे लिए ज्यादा बेहतर होगा। अदरवाइज यू मे थिंक सो फिट।
Yeah, I would like to share my idea on this. मैं नहीं जानती एग्जैक्टली व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन चेला एंड शिष्य, लेकिन जहां तक मुझे समझ में आया है, चेला इज लाइक अ कैंडिडेट और अ एस्पिरेंट हु हैज नॉट येट बीन एक्सेप्टेड. ही इज अ प्रोबेशनरी चेला. एंड शिष्य मीन्स अ एक्सेप्टेड डिसाइपल. ही हैज बीन एक्सेप्टेड. तो जहां तक मैंने समझा है, ये दोनों में फर्क है. और actually what is the Sanskrit meaning of that and difference, that I cannot say, but I your suggestion is good. This
थोड़ा सा सजेशन ये है कि थोड़े हिंदी वर्ष जब इसके होते हैं तो उसमें थोड़ा उसका मीनिंग बहुत ज्यादा अच्छा लगता है और
ठीक.
सुनने में भी अच्छा लगता है।
तो वो प्रोबेशनरी और एक्सेप्टेड डिसाइपल, ये डिफरेंस हो सकता है, ये कंफर्म करना पड़ेगा.
चलिए
आई थिंक
सिस्टर,
जी कैन
जैसा मैं
हेल्प इन।
आपकी समझे
शिंदे
जैसे
जी,
बोले। थैंक यू।
Shinde ji, can you just come in 1 minute and clarify this quickly?
Not necessary to discuss this because nobody knows details. Who is Chela, who is pupil, who is accepted, who is the son of the master. It is all unnecessary. We are imagining. Leave it there only. And be a Shishya. Shishya is enough. That is Swadhyaya, Shishya. That is enough for us. We all are humanity as a whole, still in the probationary path. Only few are there who have reached to that. It is a good thing that we have eagerness to know more and more about this. But better to practice, that is what I want to add in this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chandra Prava Bhuyanji. Super presentation. Thank you, Vibhaji, he says. And thank you, Sushma for your comment. Thanks a lot, Vibhaji, for excellent presentation. So I think with this we'll end.
डिक्शनरी में लिखा है चेला दीक्षा प्राप्त, जो आपने बताया विमल जी, कि वो गुरु जो है उसका रेप्लिका बना लेते हैं, उसके थॉट को ऑब्जर्व करते रहते हैं, उसके सारे इमोशंस को, एक्शंस को. तो चेला वो है जिसको दीक्षा प्राप्त हो गई है, इसलिए उसका नाम चेला है. ये डिक्शनरी मीनिंग है.
ओके, थैंक यू. वैसे शिंदे जी हैज द लास्ट वर्ड. हम लोग सब एक ही लेवल में सब इतने, जितने आप अच्छे उतने मैं भी अच्छी हूँ, जितने आप बुरे हैं उतने मैं भी बुरी हूँ. सो सबको एवरी डे एवरी मिनट फिर से शुरू करना पड़ता है अपने आप को प्यूरिफाई करने के लिए. एंड लेट अस ऑल जॉइन टुगेदर इन दिस purification. Let us all aim for self-purification. Thank you, Vibhaji, for a wonderful presentation. And I wish you could have continued. Thank you so much. Om Asato Ma Sadgamayam Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamayam Mrityorma Amritam Gamayam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.